Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan here on a Piney podcast. And today in South Jersey, well, really all in New Jersey, weird stuff going on with the beer virus. Almost said it again. There was 177 cases, down to 11 deaths. But here's the weird totals. 3 of those were over 3 days, and 1 of them was from June. Why would you add that number to the number of deaths? Because you didn't want to get it under 10? This is the games they play in Trenton. Phil Murphy is desperate to keep these numbers up because he wants to keep the state closed. But today's not about that. The big news story out of New Jersey is the attempted assassination of a judge. Judge Salas, I think her name is. She was at home with her family, husband and son, and a guy came to the door dressed in a FedEx outfit. Shot the son and the husband. The son died, 20-year-old son, tragic. The husband is in critical condition. She was in the basement, never even got to her. Now, according to a report I read, I believe it was in the New York Post, and they had the deets on the assassin. Earlier, Tim Pool reported on this, but the details hadn't come out again. Supposedly, this guy went home and killed himself. He was a lawyer, a men's rights activist, who had done a lot of frivolous lawsuits and was due to go up against this judge, and saw her as, I don't know, some sort of feminist tool. But here's the weird thing. The weird thing is this judge also was looking over the Epstein case. In particular, about the bank that supposedly held a lot of money for Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, it's very weird. It's also weird to me that this supposed hitman, who was in fact supposedly this guy who was a men's rights advocate and lawyer, goes to the house to assassinate her, shoots 2 of her family members, and then leaves. Doesn't search the rest of the house for her. Now, he had to know as a lawyer that he was throwing his whole life away with this stunt. He wasn't going to get away with it. So, you're throwing your whole life away on this terrible stunt, terrible, horrible thing that I don't condone in any way, but you're not even going to finish the job? This guy is the perfect patsy, I think. I don't think he did it. I think he was set up to do it. I think he was set up in that somebody went who looked like him or looked enough like him. They could go commit the murder. Then they either killed him before or killed him right after. Because there are a lot of people connected to Epstein. A lot of big, important people. Billions of dollars are at stake. And this was not any case. This was the case about the bank taking money and moving it around for the world's most notorious pedophile. So, I think there needs to be a big investigation on this, particularly about Epstein. Because the guy who supposedly committed the murder, he's perfect to frame. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't do it. Maybe he did. Maybe he is the killer. And he's just nuts enough to throw away his whole life in this aborted attempt to try to kill a judge. But, I mean, the guy was a lawyer. And he could just keep suing and suing and suing. Eventually, he's going to get something. Eventually, he's going to get something out of it. I mean, to escalate to this level, to go from suing the judge to attempting to kill her, to an assassination that you'll never get away with. He had to know he'd never get away with this. He was throwing his life away on just the attempt. If he had just shown up at her house with a gun and got caught, that's it. He would have been disbarred. His life would have been ruined. So you're telling me this guy is that crazy? Or he is a figure in the media that won't be sympathetic because he's a men's right advocate. And because he's a little nutty, he's sued a lot of frivolous things. He's got probably a lot of wacky statements on his Facebook. And maybe he's got a couple of, on the last day, they could throw stuff on there. They could have killed him like hours before, or captured him, drugged him, kept him alive till they needed to kill him. Could be. I'm just using my screenwriter abilities to weave a tale. But this Epstein thing is already crazy. If I had told you back in, 2005, let's say, there was a billionaire pedophile, he was not only going to be caught, when they caught him, it would be suggested that he had videotapes on a lot of high-profile people, and that they would put him in a prison that was known as the prison where prisoners could not kill themselves. And then he was going to kill himself. Would you have believed it? I don't think so. I think you would have said, that's a crazy theory. But it happened. Now they've got Ghislaine Maxwell in the same prison. Now this judge connected to the case. Now she's certainly connected to other cases. And certainly this guy was a little wacky. But it's a big step to go from frivolous lawsuits to murder. This is what's happening in the state of New Jersey, Pineys, along with everything else. And it's a scorcher today. So maybe the heat is affecting my brain. Or maybe not.